like that, Enzo? I see you barking, boy. I got you 3 in a row. And where's Daddy? Yes, sir. I see you.
Do you think this candle will cover up my friend's overpowering cologne?
Impossible. Hey, do you mind paying? All I have are nickels.
Not at all.
2 change for a nickel.
Unlimited 2% cash back. The Wells Fargo Active Cash Credit Card.
The chicken, fresh every day, todo el día.
So es riquísimo.
The chicken shopping shop for $7.99. Real food for a real good deal. What's not to love?
That was hired for the appellate process. Remember when Diddy was trying to get out of jail? When Diddy was trying to get out of jail, the magistrate, not only the magistrate, which is an intake judge, the district judge, which is a submarinian, that guy, he denied Diddy's bail appeal, right? So what happened was they went to appellate court. And this is how it works in federal court, but it works like this kind of almost in state court. You could do what's called interlocutory appeals, which means appeals within the trial. And sometimes those will be happening while the case is still going, or sometimes those decisions are so important they'll pause the case to get the decision on the appeal. So what happens is appellate court is so different because appellate court doesn't work like regular court. Appellate court works off you submit an appeal, right? And after the appeal, you submit these briefs. The ops or the government submit their responses. You submit another response to them. Sometimes they do a counter, and then the judge mulls over everything. Usually they don't make a decision. They usually say, we're going to set a date that y'all could argue it, 20 minutes each orally. After that, I'm going to take 2 weeks. I'm going to decide. So usually people get different lawyers for that. So appellate court, sometimes you get different lawyers. I believe Alexander Shapiro is, I was going to play this, was, I think she was working on appellate lawyer. See, highly experienced appellate lawyer. So when Diddy was trying to get out of jail, remember Diddy quit on doing that. He basically consolidated his team and said, fuck it, let's just go to trial. But his appellate lawyers, he didn't just dismiss them because we're not in appellate court now. We're in main court. But the reason why he's keeping on Alexander Shapiro on his main team, remember, he has 8 lawyers, right? Brian Steele, Mark Agnifilio, Teddy Garagos, Alexander Shapiro, she comes from the appellate side. Number 1, she's a woman, which is a good look. Number 2, if there needs to be an appeal. So what happens in court, and this is, again, I'm giving you some basic things that we could understand what we're about to see. If in court, let's say, it's a very, they're about to allow questioning along the lines of, Diddy doing something that was uncharged, or Diddy doing something to somebody who's not a victim. A lot of times what will happen is you'll hear objection, which means, hey, based on what we talked about in pretrial, this should not be allowed in the trial. Now, an objection in a trial is very important. It's what's called creating a record. So you have to create. So when a defense attorney objects, they put a note on the record that they had a problem with something. That is very necessary if you ever want to appeal. For example, with Tory Lanez didn't object to certain things, and because of his lack of objection, that is weighed differently when he wanted to appeal. So you need somebody to make sure the prosecutor doesn't fuck you over and just takes advantage of you. So having an appellate lawyer in there, I'm pretty sure she's going to be there to say, hey, object to this, because if we lose this argument or lose whatever, I need that objection on the record to appeal, okay? And by the way, so the objection is called preserving the record. Now everything is recorded, but when you object, you preserve that record of what you objected to. And when they look at that in the sense of an appeal, that's how they kind of all right, well, you objected to this, the judge overruled it, but you want a second look at it. Okay, let's look at it. If you never objected, sometimes they won't look at it, all right? So this person is, and by the way, and interestingly enough, this person also worked for Sam Bankman-Fried. Remember when I told you Diddy was in the jail with not only 6ix9ine, but as well with Sam Bankman-Fried. So Diddy, Sam Bankman-Fried, that's the FBF guy, and Diddy were all in the same jail. Do you think it's coincidental that Diddy basically hires his attorney? Now, granted, all these rich, famous guys share attorneys, but he hired his attorney, and I'm wondering if that's probably because of jail talk. You her. Okay, so she's an appellate lawyer. Okay, remember, appellate lawyer. So if you ask me, what's her role gonna be? Her role is not gonna be doing too much of main court shit. She's gonna be sitting back, listening to everything, watching for everything. This is a contingency type of situation. If Diddy loses, appeals are going out. Right? That's her job. Sit there, figure being wronged in the case that you could use for Diddy. That's number one. Number two, raise these objections, or have Mark or Tenny or Brian Steele raise these objections. Will she be cross examining people? Nah, I don't think so. Will she be doing opening and closing statements? Nah, I don't think so. But she's there to make sure if Diddy blows trial, she's one of the best appellate lawyers in the land. She's gonna make sure that he has a case at least in appellate court. Cool. Let's get back to it, chat. By the way, I'm sorry if you guys have never watched me. I know y'all watch me destroy these motherfuckers on rants. Y'all watch me when I'm doing my comedy shit. Y'all watch me in a lot of different phases. This is the phase where act locks in. I'm gonna give you a lot of details. I'm usually really heavy detail filled. Sometimes you might be like, Ack, we know this. There's somebody in the stream that don't know it. I'm trying to break all this legalese down to the regular person. And we don't have cameras, so we're trying to get the best understanding we can, okay? And sometimes this court stuff could be confusing. I feel like I've put the work in to try to understand it, to break it down to y'all, okay? Hopefully you guys,
Everyone falls. How you get back up shapes what comes next.
Besides myself, the outlaw firm was the only people that are fighting for me.
I practice law to give you constant victory.
Just by last week, Tory posted a picture of himself looking pretty buff behind bars and bragging his next album will be dropped. Where's that picture? Let me see if I can find the picture. Sorry. Tory Lanez. Oh my God, they trying to stab up the boy, huh? Oh my God. Tory been looking a little bit big right here. Pause, right? Yeah, okay. So it says the artist serving a 10-year sentence at a California state prison for the 2020 stabbing of Meg Thee Stallion. Oh, not stabbing, shooting, I'm sorry. Of Meg Thee Stallion. Tory and Meg are battling each other in court. They're still battling each other in court. She's accusing him of enlisting various bloggers to continue to public smear and cyberstalk her. And we're told that Tory's stabbing injury is non-life threatening. I'm going to hit Tory's people to see if I can get an update. I don't like putting people... I don't like putting people like on the spot like this because I could call him. But I'm asking his team if we have a status update on him. I want to send my prayers to Tory. Tory is obviously, again, no matter how easy or how, he always seems happy when I speak to him. Tory is incarcerated. And, yeah, like, it's not all roses. Yeah, he's made an album. He still pops his shit. He's always been a very jovial, very proud, very resilient individual. But he's in jail at the end of the day. And him being in jail, actually not jail, but prison, you know what comes with that. There's a lot of bullshit. It's not the nicest place. And, of course, shit, if you got niggas on the street that want to test you, somebody in jail going to want to test you and look like maybe he was stabbed. It's good to know it was non-life threatening. Non-life threatening, that's very important, but it is a little bit concerning if he was actually rushed to a hospital. That's not a medical facility within the jail because it shows that if they need a civilian or outside of jail hospital to deal with his injuries, we got to be thinking at minimum is maybe some, could be, you never know. I don't want to speak some of these things, but if, they have a medical facility, an ward, at most could abrasions, certain lacerations. this seems like it might be serious. However, we're getting told it's not. Okay. Tory prayer to this. I will let you guys know. No. Okay. His team did hit me. Okay. I think I'm safe to say this. Apparently, they're firm and something happened. They're not giving me much details. At this point, they haven't spoken with him. And that's also concerning as well. As soon as his team gets a situation, speaks to Tory, confirms, relay that to me, I will surely let you know. But it appears that maybe his team, they're not all the way in the know of. And I would imagine maybe Tory's at the hospital right now. He doesn't have the liberty to call his people, right? So we're going to send our prayers with him, and hopefully I can give you an update before the end of the stream, all right? Tory, we love you. Cool. Let's get back. Back to the trial, man. Okay. So now you guys are getting the cast of characters. We got Brian Steele. Looks like he's the third. This is the big three. This is the big three. We got Mark, Tenney, Brian Steele. That's the big three. Alexandra, an appellate lawyer. She's going to still be in there, but we don't expect her to do much other than prepare for any appeals. Okay? Okay, the first step is going to be to preemptive challenges to 45 prospective jurors. Okay, 8:53. Sean Combs is now in the courtroom. By the way, they're on time. This is federal court. One thing about federal court, they have a reputation for going fast. They have a reputation, essentially, when deadlines are set. No, we're going to do it. When we say it, they move like this. They basically, it's a federal court that serves the entire 50 states and territories. They say they are ready for a trial. They're ready, and judges are less forgiving in giving you more time, especially if you're not working on a plea or there aren't other extenuating circumstances. So it's like this. So we're even realizing Diddy gets to court 8:53. Let's get it going on, right? What is he wearing? He's wearing a light sweater instead of last week's dark blue. That also might be kind of think about just wearing light, or you got this guy not seem like a demon. He's going to be described as a.
Want to save money on your car insurance? Jerry is the app to download.
Jerry calls my old insurance and cancels it. They send me my new policy when it's all done, and they also have it right there on the app if I ever need it.
Click of a button, and I was with a representative like that. Thanks, Jerry. A lot.
Download and try Jerry today.
And in today's weather.
My bad, Chef. My bad.
Hey, this is game one of the NBA Finals. This is a Super Bowl. You can't fuck up. They're going over papers. By the way, the mere fact that we keep hearing about Agnafili and Tenney, their strategy, even before Brian Steele was hired, them going into it, they're 1-2 in this shit. Yo, look at this. Make sure, remember this? This is what we're going to do on Cross. Hey, remember they were probably spending the weekend going over the investigators, all 43 people's criminal history, everything history, social media, to see who are we going to sit. Diddy. He's racist. He's also got to be out unless you just want to get sent up the river, right? 3 of the 6 were typing on their cell phones. So the prosecutors are chilling. They're like, yo, we about to send this bum ass. 26. The Combs affiliate was in with Judge Submaranian, doing the preemptive strikes to the jury pool. Okay, in New York State Court, this is all done in public, in a courtroom, on the record. Wait for announcement of jurors. Okay, so it looks like private, but this inner city press is saying in state in public. So at 9:34, judge says, "Good morning. the challenges. Okay, part that was done in private. I guess. It says we strike juror 51. Agnew says strike 52, and Comey says we strike 216. Agnew 57 and 112. Comey says we strike 118. Agnew says we strike 127, 131. See, so they're basically just chopping them down. Comey says we strike 81, 9, and 20. Comey says we strike 160. By the way, the preemptive strikes, you don't have to give the reasons, right? Before, the judge kind of had to do this with cause, like, hey, well, why don't you want them to go on to the next round? And then they might be like, the judge might be like, hey, could you be fair? And if the person said yes, they would pass them on to the last round. This last round is where you could just, you don't got to give no explanation. Get the fuck off of the jury, you know? But the other side could do it as well. Okay. Comey says the defense was only supposed to strike one this round. Okay. Agnew says, okay. Apparently, there's a structure. Hey, this round you can strike one. This whittled down till they get to 18 and jury, right? So Comey, which is the daughter again of James Comey, which is a former FBI director, and her name is Maureen Comey. She brings up a point and says, hey, wait, breaking the rules. Agnew was only supposed to strike one. He's trying to strike two, which is 22 and 84. And Mark makes a decision to only strike 22. Then Comey says we strike 163. Then Agnew in the next round uses the 84 that he was trying to strike in the same round. Comey says we strike 220. Agnew says we strike 25. He was supposed to strike in the alternate. Agnew said, okay, so I guess they have like a situation where there's possible people for alternates and possible people for the pool. Agnew waits for a second, confers with Nicole Westmoreland. Okay, now this got to be like a lawyer that probably was involved, or a jury specialist lawyer. Let's say he adds another woman, which is a black woman, to his case. Her name is, it says Sean Diddy has added a team to his high-powered lawyers, a black woman attorney who in 2009 sued a well-known member of the hip-hop community after surviving sexual assault. Nicole Westmoreland, who runs her own firm, joined the rap mogul's defense team this week with a notice of attorney appearance landed in the case docket as jury's selection went on the way. Her sole job is probably, as someone who has survived sexual assault, this and third, probably she could notice a few things about the jury pool, help advise them as who they should strike, who not to. Don't know what she's on for the whole case, but we don't know what her involvement is going to be. But we do get her name brought up because she seems important with Agnew figuring out who to get off the list next. So she looked like she had some research done. So they then strike, they strike 218. Comey strikes 324. Agnew strikes 240. Strikes 281. Agnew says one moment. And then he says, I note that the government has struck 7 black people out of 9 strikes. Ooh. By the way, I know you might be like, why they're saying this? Everything said here is on the record. Everything is on the record. Remember what I said, with objections, you preserve the record.
I got something that'll cheer you up, Jack.
I go the other way. Trying to shut it when I'm sweet. Let's let my knees go weak. What's happening to me?
Herbes chunky salsa. Authentic.
Black man strikes struck 7 black people out of 9. So the white women don't want to see no black people on his goddamn case as jurors, right? And again, that plays good for the narrative. Again, at the end of the day, we're past the point of public court or the court of public opinion. It's all about what's going to be decided. But he made sure to note that, and he's noted on the record. Okay, cool. Agnew says, by the way, judge says, I'll give you a chance to raise that, but let's continue. Okay? By the way, the reason why he's also bringing that up, remember, you got your appellate lawyer there, right? That could be a conversation about maybe some type of prejudice in how the prosecutor is conducting this whole, trial, or their attempt to conduct a trial if they're trying to make sure a black man getting tried by supposedly his peers, none of the peers is black. Okay? Think about it, right? So cool. The judge says, I'll give you a chance to raise that, but let's continue. Agnifilo says, all right, cool, we're striking 307. Submarinian says, our jurors are going to be 2, 5, 25, 28, 55, 58, 75, 116, 160, 184, 201, 217, 230, 234, 247, 292, 321, and 330. By the way, let me just tweet this out real quick for anybody who's on X. I got to stop using my X to be for bum-ass bitches and actually, hold on, let me see. Wait, X. I'm trying to tweet out our link. All right, chat?
Here, this is what I'll do for you. I'll give y'all a
By the way,
insight.
I want to know what y'all think.
I don't want to get copyright strike.
One of our second highest live stream. Actually, I think third. Because we did have 60,000 people in here when we were reading pretty much the verdict for 6ix9ine. And we were going over his case. Biggest streams ever for me. Tory Lanez verdict, 72,000 people were watching while we did that. The number one obviously is Drake and Kendrick. I think I had like several 100,000. Like, we shouldn't even count that. But other than that, it's always been court shit. So we had Tory at number 2, 6ix9ine at number 3. I really think this is going to be toppling Tory. So I think by the time we get to a verdict, and we're going to have like probably 100,000 people up in here. This shit is not televised. So, again, just lock in with me. We're going to make sure we get you all the shit. Let me just tweet out this fucking link. Where y'all at right now? Y'all at work? Y'all chilling? Oh, okay, I tweeted it out. Perfect. All right, we're back to it. So cool. So we kind of got like this list of what is going on. And it says, all right, so Agnifilo says the U.S. struck 7 black people, which amounts to a pattern. The judge says an application has been made under Batson. Ms. Comey, now the white woman who's, the daughter of former FBI director James Comey, he says, no, we're neutral. She says we're neutral. So she's saying, no, we're not racist, right? An application has been made under Batson. Let's Google what that is. We gotta understand everything that's going on. Batson, I guess Batson versus Kentucky. That's probably a court case. Yep, Batson versus Kentucky. Let's see what that says. Oh yeah, in a landmark case, Batson versus Kentucky, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in 1986 that a prosecutor cannot use preemptive challenges to exclude potential jurors solely based on race. Woo! Hey, Submarinian. He's on his shit as a judge. Obviously, this is your job. This is your life's work. When you get anointed or appointed as U.S. district judge, you serve for life. He's on his shit. He knows exactly what court case this would refer to, or a historic court case that went to the Supreme Court. So Batson versus Kentucky was a case that the Supreme Court listened to, and they ruled in 1986, if you as a prosecutor try to use your preemptive challenges in a racial way to get out all the black people, all the Mexicans, whatever, that is wrong, okay? And by the way, it challenged the removal of these jurors. Basically saying it created an impartial rule. By the way, here's the reason. In a 72 decision, the Supreme Court held that while a defendant is not entitled to have a jury completely or partially composed of his own race, the state, and by the way, the Supreme Court was operating, remember the Supreme Court is the highest court of all the land. Even state courts get to the Supreme Court. So if you have a state case, it goes to your state Supreme Court. And if the state Supreme Court rules, you could possibly bring it to the actual Supreme Court of the United States. By the way, there's 50 Supreme Courts. Each state has their own state Supreme Court, but there's one Supreme Court of the entire land. When the Supreme Court of the United States rules on anything, that's usually precedence. Not only that takes that.
The power of the vest at Jim Butler Kia is all about you.
power to get you financed, the power to get you the best deal on a new Kia, and the power to get you top dollar for your trade-in. Shop now at JimButlerKia.com.
Jury selection, we went over this. We have a couple of different rounds until they will it down to usually 12 jurors and then maybe 4 or sometimes, in this case, 6 alternates, right? They're saying the preemptory challenges can't be automatically used to exclude potential members just because of their race. The Equal Protection Clause guarantees the defendant that the state will not exclude members of his race from the jury on account of race or false assumption that members of his race are not qualified to serve. So I think that's a great, and by the way, again, chat, this is going to be chess. It's showing you, number one, Diddy's lawyers are prepared. They wanted to raise this on the record. Whoa, hey, 7 out of 9 of the people that they have disqualified are black. What's up? Cool. They bring this on the record. So now it says an application has been made. So the judge is now saying, and this is where all the appellate stuff is going to come in. Because now the judge is saying this is on the record. There is going to be further conversation about this, that if you get found guilty, this is a great thing to bring up on appeal. And also you could say that we did say this was not cool during the trial. The judge made a note of it. We're good. So Diddy's lawyers, Agnophilia, as much as I thought he was like kind of stupid, not really stupid, but because I know he's smart, but he said too much. He wasn't a good PR lawyer. In court, he's doing his thing. Okay, he's doing his thing. Comey, she says, nah, we neutral. Okay, bet. Comey says, juror, so she's now trying to explain herself why she ain't racist. Juror 51 knew 17 of the names, appeared to have seen Making a Band, which is a show Diddy did, has a relative with law enforcement issues. The next strike, he harassed a police officer and didn't report it, had a sister, his sister had an issue, and this clears the bar. There are good reasons, okay? Juror 81, we think they claim to have special knowledge of bipolar. Okay, so she's explaining herself. He said it was inevitable. He'd lose 30% of his income, but won some. So we struck 163, I believe, for cause due to English proficiency, and he had a relative who shot at the police. Okay, so she's explaining why she eliminated all the black people, right? And Comey continues to say, he called the police assholes. We struck him. In 281, she said victims can catch a case and jump on a bandwagon. We think she has an agenda. These easily clear the Batson bar. So on the record, the prosecutor in real time has defended why she has taken out 9 of the preemptive challenges that she's eliminated. 7 of them are black. She's saying it got nothing to do with race, but actually because of certain red flags we noticed from them. Judge Submaranian says, I deny. Okay, so it looked like that was almost damn near like a motion. Says, I deny the defense Batson challenge. Those were not based on purposeful discrimination. And by the way, here's the thing. There's pros and cons to all these jurors. It's kind of hard to prove this like Batson, standard because, yeah, I eliminated all the black people, but if I could say one thing bad about each black people that I eliminated, I'm not racist, y'all. So you're telling me all the white people. So I don't know how many black people were potential jurors, but you eliminated 7 out of 9 of them. Come on now. Anyway, whatever. The judge says, we'll bring the jury in a few minutes. Perfect. Here we go. So now 10:17, the jury is now seated. Judge Arun Subramanian, he says, welcome back. This is United States versus Sean Combs. We will be providing lunch for you in the jury room. We will not release your names to the public. The clerk now swears the jury in. Okay? The judge says questions are not evidence. Only answers given by the witnesses and documents are evidence. You can consider circumstantial evidence like someone walking in with a dripping umbrella. You could surmise it's raining outside even if you don't see it. The judge says that, by the way, this is instructions I was telling you was going to happen. That a witness uses a pseudonym doesn't mean that their testimony is any worthy of less weight. Why does this matter? There's going to be, on the record, some people are going by Jane Doe. So there are going to be certain people who are not going to be called by their real name. Cassie will be called Cassandra Ventura, but there's other people, they will be called Jane Doe. And it will be listed on the record and in transcripts, and I don't believe their real name will ever be used in court. It's trying to protect them and their supposed victims. Says, during the trial, do not read or view anything and listen to anything about the case. Don't post anything. Once the U.S. rests, the defense can present. So they're saying defense first, prosecutors or AUSAs first, then we're going to go to defense, should he choose to. By the way, not in all cases has defenses chosen to produce or provide a response. For example, the guy who killed young Dolph, Justin Johnson, straight shooter, whatever his name is, they had, as soon as the prosecutor finished doing their case, they rested. They said, we don't have a defense. There's no defense needed. We did our cross on their case. We don't want to put nothing else into the air. Of course, that nigga got found guilty. Okay, life. Anyway, so I think that's a bad strategy, but I'm giving my opinion. Right? Let's stick with the facts. AUSA Johnson says this is Sean Combs. So this is now, it appears, opening statements, because now we're finally hearing AUSA speak. Right? This is the prosecutor. Now, interestingly enough, Maureen Comey, who's, again, daughter of James Comey, former FBI director, she's not going first. I thought with all the, she was really heavy in jury selection. So is Mark Agnifilio. I thought she was the lead. We heard.
Explore beans with ease with a removable bean hopper.